Go ahead and get started. I have asked Lynn to open us up in prayer, so if everybody would stand.
If you'll bow your heads, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we just stand before you today, so grateful for all the things that you've given us and provided us, Lord. And thank you for the opportunity to serve you and to serve our city, Lord. And I just ask as we make decisions that affect our citizens and our employees, Lord, that we keep your purpose in mind, that we're tolerant with each other, Lord, and we just ask that you lead and guide us in everything we do, not only with the city, but our individual lives in our community. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. If you would, place the flag, attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, I'd like to welcome everybody to our council meeting today. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting? Motion to approve. Got a motion and a second to approve meetings. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. All right. Has everybody had a chance to look at the paid bills?
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Okay.
Got a motion and a second to pay the bills. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carried. Okay, first on the agenda, we have some citizen participation. I'd like to welcome Tim Poe to the stand. If you'll come up to the microphone, please.
Stand. We're going to perform.
Thank y'all for having an opportunity to come and discuss what some of the neighbors, the community around us have found out about the closing of 23rd Street. Want to kind of talk about, say what plans or reasoning behind it, what more than what the paper noticed, if there's anything more to say.
The main reason that we chose to close that crossing was a recommendation from Norfolk Southern. They made it abundantly clear to us they're not going to they're not going to put a cross arm there, and that is the first attempt in trying to get an overpass that we've been looking for.
I know, with the railroad, dealing with them, preemption laws, I guess you're familiar with that the railroad has, over anything, so anything the city, state, that they're above all that, has to be fairly level. But in my remembrance of any accident we've had, has been that crossing that's had the, arms on and stuff like that. I'm not aware of any down here, and our concern is if we close that, even though we've got to go just one little block away to get across there at the next place, a lot of times that train, when it has everybody stop, they're coming all the way through the middle of town. That's the only outlet, because the train will stop there at the lumber yard and have that one block and leave this one open, or the other way around, you stop there at the 23rd Street and leave that area open. So kind of strange to do that. And then with the issue, it's that just on all across America, there's every small town on the agenda of the city council got something to do with the railroad, But if y'all close that and the railroad sitting across the tracks, there's health concerns, kind of ambulance service, or which we have a fire department on that side of the tracks, but just get across.
If I may, well, actually, it's part of a more overall conversation with Norfolk Southern, and part of that conversation was with regard to making arrangements to where that they were going to address the problems, and they are addressing the problems with regard to blocking the intersections. And we've had some situations where, because of time limits on engineers, that they have literally left trains parked for a couple of 3 days. And we now have arrangements, and that was part of that ongoing discussion where it will be divided at First Street, and they will not leave us blocked all the way from Fifth Street to the south. And that was the best place to make sure we were had a crossing as determined by our safety people. So that was part of an overall discussion. It's also the part of an ongoing overall discussion with regard to the possibilities of looking at and exploring the building of an overpass by the city, which they, if everything's going well, would contribute some to. And so it was part of an overall program looking at improving the problems we have with the railroad. And you are absolutely correct. The federal government has preempted the regulation of railroads, and so there is almost nothing we can do with regard to railroads without their consent. So I just want you to know it was part of a larger plan, and one of the things you said was all it said was we're going to close 23rd Street, but it's part of a larger plan to increase the accessibility side to side in the city of Fort Payne.
That sounds like a good plan, but there's a term, you've been railroaded, that comes up. And,
We've been railroaded for years.
Yes.
But, it just seems like, just enclosing a hole to get out, or a road to get out, before we get something in return, would be my concern. I guess the deal already done on the,
Yeah, it was done last council meeting. It's my understanding they're supposed to close that when? 30th.
what kept the residents, the neighbors, and us from being invited? Before that, what was the reason behind that?
There really was no reason
Well, it was just public, it had been discussed before action was taken, and that had been in the newspaper, and then it was on the agenda. And so then the agenda's public, so we just assumed, I guess.
thought, the past letters, sent out to.
Well, there are certain things that happen with regard to rezoning, et cetera. That's what the law requires, but not with that.
We've been very fortunate in that Norfolk Southern actually agreed to come and sit down and talk with us because that had not been done in the past. And for them to sit down and actually discuss these things. And, there's not a perfect fix for everybody. It's not going to be a perfect solution for everybody. But we're looking at the whole thing as a whole, trying to get the best possible outcome since they are coming to sit down and talk with us.
And on their side, if they spend, give the city 30,000 here, 100,000 the next city, so when they have, somebody brings up concern, the railroad, they say, we spent $100 million last year on safety concerns. And their safety concerns is actually helping them out, because that's one less, opening across the country they have to go.
We've been assured that they're gonna keep 22nd Street open, if at all possible. And the passing track is above that. So what we've been told, and so far since we had those meetings, they've gone by it every time except once. They had a train went into emergency north of Fort Payne, and the train had to go in and park and block First Street one time since we had this agreement. And it was cleared up in a few hours and they moved on. But their agreement with us is they'll keep 22nd Street open and First Street if at all possible.
What would be, say, the agreement y'all made with them, if next year they start violating that agreement, what grounds do you have?
The same grounds we always have as a city trying to regulate a railroad. We have no authority to do anything. What you up until the mid-1960s, cities made efforts to regulate railroads. They passed ordinances with regard. The city of Fort Payne somewhere still has on the books an ordinance that says you can only block a crossing for 45 minutes. We have speed limits. None of those, according to the Supreme Court of the United States, are enforceable. The federal government's preempted that, and so we really have to go to the railroad hand in hand and get cooperation out of them. We have no leverage in any negotiations with the railroad.
I know they're quick to go around their weight, when they get back in the corner, they're
Well,
down ship. So.
That's correct.
You're not gonna make them do anything, we found that out.
No, that's
Our
not
only
gonna happen.
long-term fix is to go over the railroad, and this is the first step in that process. We're talking to them, we've got a good dialogue. So far, they've held up to their end of the agreement, but we're hiring a consultant to help in the design of that overpass. So what we've talked about for years is finally being moved forward. And there's gonna be some bumps in the road, and we understand that, but we're just kinda having to work in good faith here that the overall long-range plan is gonna be the best fit for Fort Payne. And this was the first piece of the puzzle.
So that at some point, we'll have that overpass to where emergency vehicles can go over, from one side to the other on the tracks.
Anytime.
That will be an undertaking, y'all know that's gonna be a large undertaking.
Right.
To do that, and, stuff like that.
Well, and that's a commitment from us. The railroad will help some, but it's really our overpass. It's not the railroad's overpass. It's gonna be ours. So,
They'll still tell you how to build it, how high to build it.
well, there are regulations.
Well, it will, and that's why we're getting a consultant that actually has experience with the railroad, so.
Biggest problem we've got, the railroad was here before the town was.
Yeah.
And they tell you what they'll tell you exactly what you're gonna do, and that type of thing is nothing you can do.
And the town's here because of the railroad.
But, years ago, they were small, the trains were smaller than today, they're hauling so much.
I agree with you.
Yep.
They can block a whole town.
But they were quick to tell us it's only gonna be worse, get worse. So we have to do as a city what's best for the city as a whole
Yeah,
to move forward, knowing the information that we know. I'm sorry it inconveniences you guys and brings up concern.
It's just been better to have money in hand before like shut down this road, get the railroad to commit better.
Well, if that, in a perfect world, yeah, but we all know that's
We're
not how it
talking
works
about-
with them, and we know it.
We're talking about a substantial amount of money, probably $15 to $20 million
Yeah.
for it's over with. And Washington's gonna have to help with that. I mean, that's all it amounts to. We've got to have help in regard to that. But since we had the meeting, I'll give the railroad a lot of credit because they have brought shorter trains, broken trains, and whereas we've had trains long enough in Fort Payne that wouldn't fit on that sidetrack. And actually having to bring one train in and start moving the other one out before they could pass at the far end, south end primarily. I haven't seen that happen anymore. They're bringing shorter trains in, they're parking trains down around Portersville, and they're parking some up around Valley Head. Which is helping, and I think that the railroad really wasn't aware of some of the problems that they actually had, and they were receptive to that. I've called them a time or two since then, and they've jumped right on anything that we've requested. So I for the time being anyway, we're getting good cooperation from the railroad, and they could have closed this crossing. I mean, they were just nice enough to let us do it. That's about what it amounted to.
Well, basically, it boiled down to, they could close the crossing, we could get nothing, or we could close the crossing and you get $35,000. I thought that was a fairly obvious choice.
Thank you for coming.
I believe another gentleman here was from that same neighborhood that wanted to address the council.
I'm Tom Page. I live at the end of Gulf Avenue. I have family members that live down here. I have an 87-year-old brother-in-law. Not too good of health, at least. My wife had a stroke 3 years ago, aneurysm and stroke. You guys are closing this thing, but my main concern is an ambulance getting there. Why do we not have an ambulance station on the east side of the tracks?
We don't control the DeKalb ambulance service,
Yeah,
it's a totally
that's not part
separate
of-
entity. They're funded by county money. We do have 2 fire stations on that side, and that's exactly why they are where they are.
That's not an EMS.
I beg your pardon, we've got paramedics that get to 90% of the calls in Fort Payne ahead of an ambulance, so we've got a good EMS program, we just don't transport.
My problem, that's my main problem.
I understand. I've run calls down there myself years ago, and it's a straight shot down Godfrey Avenue, so.
That's our biggest concern of trying to get an overpass, and this is the first steps in trying to do that.
We talked about the overpass for years. Nothing ever been done.
Well, we're trying. We've been here a year and a half, and we're trying. And we're further along now than we've been in 42 years.
Don't know, I hope we see it in my lifetime.
Me too.
But, you know, there's that possibility that we won't, but,
And we can
it's
sit
further
back and
now.
do nothing, or we can try to do everything we can to start taking steps to do that. And that's what I think we've decided to do as a council, is trying to see this thing through. I mean, we're committed to get that overpass to the citizens.
And we basically gotta play by their rules.
Exactly. I mean, it will be a slow process because everything with government, even though we are, it just happens slowly, but we are gonna have to get federal money, and that's another step, so.
We are committed to staying, you know, on that
Of course.
course and trying to push forward and talk to the people that we need to talk to, to get that to happen.
Since I came to the council, I've hounded you can ask them, I've hounded everybody I could about this railroad. And finally, I think collectively, through those things, we're seeing, you know, a conversation opened up, not just because of me, but because of us as a group. And it's something we're very passionate about.
Well, I understand that, and obviously, we're dealing with this.
Right.
22nd Street was blocked at 8:30 last night. 23rd Street was open. I understand you're working with, you're working with the devil. I mean, I applaud you for trying to get something done. We do. Thanks.
And we need y'all to contact Doug Jones in Washington, Richard Shelby, Robert Idaho, all these guys. We're gonna have to have federal money come to the state of Alabama DOT, and then the state can put some money with that. We're gonna put money with it, and the railroad has agreed to put some money with that for that project to get done. They just are currently building an overpass at Valley Head that's bid out $4.8 million. An overpass in Fort Payne is gonna be considerably larger on the east side of the tracks because you have to go across the creek and whatnot. There's 3 different ways you can do it, and we're researching all 3 of those ways. One is just a flyover to get across to Godfrey Avenue. One is a true overpass that goes over and does away with Joe's truck stop. That plan was engineered in the 60s. In 92, they had a plan nearly ready to bid out, and the money fell through. So this has been going on all my life. I grew up listening to people talk about wrecks at Joe's truck stop and things like that. The railroad has become an issue in the last 6 or 7 years because truckers are hard to find. The railroads are moving more freight than they ever have. And they basically told us they're probably going to double track Fort Payne to Chattanooga one of these days, not the 2 districts. Now, can you imagine 2 lines going all the way through town? We have got to have an overpass. We've started that process, but we need all the public commitment that we can get from everybody besides us to call these people, email them, and write them. Put us on your priority. It's an election year. Doug Jones is running in 2 years. We need these guys to understand that Fort Payne matters, and we need some federal money to come here to help with the state and the local money. We're willing to chip in, but they're gonna have to help us do that. So the squeaking wheel gets greased. We gotta squeak a little more.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for your concerns.
Okay. Moving right along, John Dersham to present the council last year's tourism numbers as provided to the state. Welcome, John.
Thank you very much. Mayor, City Council, thank you for having me. And I want to thank you personally for your involvement in this community with tourism. We are obviously pro-tourism in this community. I also want to thank the citizens of Fort Payne for supporting all the efforts in tourism and having such a wonderful place for people to visit. And when they do visit, we treat them right. For a low-cost visit, we treat them with respect and dignity, and they have a nice time while they're here. Also want to thank Darlene Roch, Tim Harris, and Jennifer Curdy. We're all working together on this. And you guys have played a major role in the numbers I'm about to give you. Because last year, you gave us an additional 1% appropriation in lodging tax, which every dime of that goes to advertising, outside advertising. Here's all the items, and you're welcome to a copy of that later. All of these items invite people that don't live here to come spend the night with us. Simple as that. When they spend the night, we know if a family of four visits, if they're coming for boom days, if they're coming for third Saturday, if they're coming because they want to go up on the mountain and hike, a family of four is spending $436 a day, including their hotel. And it's wonderful. It takes community support that we have to engage our visitors and treat them right in such a way that they go back home, they tell their friends, and we know they like us because they come back every single year, many of them multiple times a year. So much so that Fort Payne and DeKalb County is the second return visit next to the beach. So of all the numbers that the state collects, we have more return visitation than anywhere other than the beach. And the beach is obvious because people make their, we've tried to get that spring business, but it's hard to get. You know, it's hard to get the spring breakers like the beach. So here's the difference in 1 year. We had perpetual growth over the last number of years. In fact, I showed you the chart. I'm going to hand one of these out to everybody. But we grew. This is just knocked it out. Kay Ivey gave a press conference at Barber Motorsports where she introduced the 2017 numbers. We grew just here expenditures by tourists by $3,417,442 in 1 year. That's unbelievable. So we now have over $85 million spent by tourists in DeKalb County, and it requires an overnight stay. Otherwise, you're not in the number. So if they stop at exit 218 or 222, they buy food, they buy gas, they shop. Well, that's, you're collecting sales tax on all of that. But to be a tourist, they have to have spent the night somewhere. So that's why all the advertising we do, we try to invite them, a personal invitation, to spend the night and spend time with us. Every additional day that we can get a tourist, it compounds that number. So right now, we're mostly a weekend destination for people from Birmingham, Montgomery, Huntsville, Chattanooga, Rome, Georgia. We tend to get more from the northern tier in the spring when the weather gets nice, and more from the south as the fall foliage comes up. But just a few tourism things that I wanted to talk to you about. Federally, tourism generated $2.4 trillion to the U.S. economy. Tourism is now the third largest occupation in the United States, next to agriculture, and medical, and then tourism. I just attended a meeting with some tourism economists. In the next decade, tourism will provide 1 out of every 4 jobs. So 25% of all the jobs in the United States will be hospitality and tourism. So it's pretty incredible. The state numbers, also outstanding. Last year, $14.3 billion in revenue. That's an incredible contribution to the general fund. But the neat thing about Alabama is we're perpetually growing, so much so that we're now the 13th largest tourism economy in the United States. Think about that. When I was a kid growing up, New England, you go up to the New York State and Maine and Vermont, Massachusetts for vacations, things like that. They're not even on the map, on the radar. The obvious ones are ahead of us: Las Vegas, Orlando, New York, places like that. In DeKalb, we didn't add any new hotel rooms last year. The new ones that came, 28 new rooms at Hampton Inn, that was this year, in 2018. On the same number of rooms, same number of camp spots, same number of B&Bs, we had a 4.1% growth. That means our occupancy grew by 4.1%, and it was the same number of rooms. So that means that we filled those rooms more often. And that's what the ad campaign helps do. So, in addition to the synergy that we have here, the Chamber, Main Street, the Times Journal, we're all working together on these projects to just help raise more money for everybody. I mean, once you start perpetuating the income, it just goes up. All tides rise, right? So we want that to happen, and we're doing projects together now. And one I'm very, very excited about is we're doing an all-new travel guide. And this came up because Yosemite National Park, one of the largest tourist destinations, does their travel guide this size. But it's not just a travel guide, it's a welcome guide. It's all to see, do, eat, shop in the city of Fort Payne. It'll have a map in it. And this is a partnership. It's going to look, I don't have anything to show you. It's in production, but I'm showing you the size, right? Okay. So the Times Journal, Main Street, and the Chamber all work together in this project. So we're all going to have our stuff in it. So when we mail these things out, by the way, we mail out a stack like that every week, just from web hits, from people calling in. So we're mailing out a lot of these, about 20,000 a year we send out. This is going to have everything about us in here. And it's just going to have nice pictures, it's going to be graphically beautiful, kind of a neat map. So that, along with a tear-off map that's already in production. So when we partner together with these things, then we can be more efficient and we can deliver the same message. What I like about delivering the same message, if they go to the Chamber and pick up a travel guide, or if they go anywhere in town and pick up some, we want all of these, all the information we're providing our visitors to be exactly the same, right? So we want to deliver one message, and that will do that. So I'm very excited about all these projects. And you guys are making the difference. I mean, all of us in this room and the community itself for saying, hey, we love tourism. It's good, clean dollars to the community. It's one of the most profitable things that you can add. If you're not paying for kids to go to school, you're not paying for their trash collection. They're just coming, spending their money, and going back home. So I want to thank you each, and I'm going to give one of the annual report. If you have any questions about these, I'm always available to run through how this works and the whole process, including the ad schedule. I got more.
Thanks, John.
Get them all up, I'll give you.
Just kidding.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Okay,
Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
I just want to say I thank the Chamber and Main Street for being here and the work that they're doing along with John, working together and showing that together we can achieve more. So kudos to you guys. All right, moving right along. Resolution number 2018-31, authorizing approving application to the state of Alabama, ADECA, CBG Large City Fund, and Appalachian Region Commission Fund.
As y'all know, this is what we've been discussing for quite some time. It's simply authorizing TARCOG to go forward with the grant applications, and Lucas Blankenship is here if anyone has any questions. This is simply the resolution that authorizes the application.
So moved.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried.
There's an addition.
Okay, there's an addition.
Yeah, you want to talk about it?
Corresponding with that, we've been able to reach an agreement with the lien holder. The cleanest way to take care of us acquiring the property, should we be recipients of a grant, is for the city to purchase the lien and the lien to then be foreclosed. That does away with any other claims that there could be. And we've reached an agreement that if we get a grant, then we would pay them $7,500 for a $2 million debt. And they would then convey to us the note to collect the $2 million, which is not gonna happen. But more importantly, the security agreement, we could then foreclose the mortgage and it would be our property for that $7,500, which I assume we can take out of the grant. But we're not obligated to do that unless we get the grant. So I need a motion authorizing the,
So moved.
Second.
and the signing of
Here we
that.
got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. I would like to thank Lucas for all the work that he's put in on this process. Okay, new business. Lease, authorize renewal of the lease to the U.S. Post Office.
We have a ground lease for the current post office location is situated, and it is up for renewal January 31st, 2019. They sent us a lease and requested a renewal on it. They pay us the grand total whopping sum of $2,100 a year.
Okay, got a motion and a second to renew that lease. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Say it like you mean it.
Yeah.
I think we could convert it into a nice club.
Okay, we got some curbing requests. Billy Poe, Virginia Fallon, and LeBron Carter.
Yeah.
Good with those? Okay. Got a motion and a second to approve those. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Okay, activity permit, Fort Payne 3 Arts Boom Days Run, Saturday, September the 15th from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Randy, good with that?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mr. President, I got one more thing.
Okay.
Last council meeting, I hadn't had a chance to go look at the streetlight request on Forest Avenue South, and I am good with that. I think Mr. Jerry flagged.
Okay.
That, so I think he already has a paperwork.
Motion to approve.
They got a motion and a second to approve that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Do we have a poll number on that, Randy?
I think it's
It's on that paperwork.
No, I'll get you.
Okay.
I'd just like to say, we had done a permit for the Pete the Cat event, and Randy and I had kind of talked and modified what we had decided to do, but I just wanted to tell him thank you and tell other people he's willing to kind of work and cooperate with other clubs and organizations, and because we always submit something, but it's not always the best thing. So I just wanted to kind of recognize him and thank him and let other people know that sometimes is available. It needs to be revisited. What's being requested.
Mayor, you have a report for us?
I really don't have a report. I just want to thank again, John Dersham and the Chamber and Main Street and everybody involved. I think we're looking at a good year this time and a better year next year. And it's gonna take a lot of work and a lot of cooperation with everybody, but I see that better than I've seen it in years, and I think everybody else has too. So we appreciate that very much, very much. And in connection with the old hospital, I appreciate everybody's involvement with that. This is something that's been a sword in my side and a lot of other people's side for years and years, and finally it looks like maybe we can get something done with that. And I certainly appreciate everybody's endeavors with that. We had a petition that we passed around, and I think we got almost 1,500 signatures. I don't know anybody that refused to sign it. I had one lady come to the office and say she'd go door to door if we wanted her to. So anyway, I do appreciate everybody in that regard. I'll have some things next time, but that will do this time.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming today. Also would like to mention too, I know Patrick might appreciate this, but he's had some trucks down, and trash pickup has been off last week. So if they haven't come got your trash or your limbs, be patient, they will be there. So. We need to go into.
Motion to go into executive session.
Got a motion and a second to go into executive session. All in favor say aye.
Yes.
Yes. All right.
Please go vote today.
Yes, please go vote.